now confirmed dead in the wildfires sweeping northern California. Officials say progress in battling the blazes is being made, but fears are high the death toll could surge. Hundreds are still missing. In one town immediately in the line of fire, the mayor warned anyone refusing to evacuate would be left to fend for themselves.
This is a mandatory evacuation. Your presence in Calistoga is not welcome if you are not a first responder. Your choice to stay, and there have been very few of them, is a distraction to our first responders. You will not be given life safety support at this point. You are on your own.
Around 8,000 firefighters are now battling more than 20 blazes in California's famous wine country, the deadliest in the state since 1933. Fanned by strong winds, some 3,500 homes and businesses have been completely destroyed since Sunday. The cause of the fires is still under investigation.
The United States and Israel have both withdrawn from the UN's Science, Culture and Education Agency UNESCO after accusing it of having an anti-Israeli bias. Middle Eastern politics are complicating the voting for a new Director General, but it's also a big financial blow to the agency, which protects the world's heritage sites.
I would like to remind the American people that on the World Heritage List is the Statue of Liberty, which says something not just for the Americans, but to the world, with a very strong message.
Arch rivals Egypt and Qatar are competing for the Director General's post, as is France. However, Qatar's candidate is in the lead so far in the voting, and he's opposed by both Israel and the US. Recently, Egypt's candidate retweeted an Israeli newspaper article suggesting she's also not favoured by Israel. In 2011, the US refused to pay its portion of funding after UNESCO admitted Palestine as a member state, and it still owes the agency $500 million. Israel has also objected to UNESCO listing the ancient part of West Bank's largest city, Hebron, as a World Heritage Site.
On Thursday, Senator Marco Rubio urged U.S. President Donald Trump to create a high-level task force to provide ideas for aiding Puerto Rico in recovery efforts following the devastation of Hurricane Maria. Rubio, a Republican from Florida, told Reuters in a telephone interview that the task force would serve as a sounding board for Trump as we move beyond the initial recovery phase to the broader long-term recovery phase. Rubio claimed Trump was receptive to the idea when they spoke Sunday, saying he seemed to like the idea and said they would follow up and see what that would look like.
Samsung Electronics says its CEO and vice chairman's stepping down despite forecasting record third-quarter profits on the back of soaring memory chip prices. The 64-year-old Oh Hyun Kwon had been expected to take a bigger role following the February arrest of Samsung Group's heir apparent J.Y. Lee on bribery charges. Known as Mr. Chip, Kwon had been with the company since 1985, building up the component business to become the group's most profitable sector.
Will he or won't he certify the Iran nuclear deal? All eyes on President Trump as he prepares to make a crucial speech later, which could make or break the historic agreement. The deal saw sanctions eased on Tehran in exchange for curbs on its nuclear activity. International inspectors say Iran is in technical compliance with the accord, but Trump has threatened to tear it up, branding it the worst deal the US has ever signed. More recently, the president has claimed Iran is in violation of the spirit of the agreement, which is signed with 6 world powers in July 2015. Both Britain and France have urged Trump to stay inside the deal, as have senior advisers within his administration, such as Defence Secretary James Mattis. The president has until Sunday to make a decision. If he refuses, Congress will have 60 days to decide whether to reimpose sanctions on Iran, a move which many fear could not only doom the deal, but also risk retaliation from Tehran. There have been celebratory scenes in both Gaza and the West Bank after Hamas and Fatah signed a reconciliation deal. The initial agreement aims to end a decade-long rift between the two rival Palestinian factions. We will see administrative control of Gaza handed over to a Fatah-backed unity government. This Gazan resident said, "I hope there will be implementation on the ground for the issues agreed upon, because we are truly tired by the division and poverty we've been suffering for 11 years. In addition to administering Gaza, the agreement should see the West Bank-based Palestinian Authority take back control of the Rafah border crossing between the coastal territory and Egypt. The unity deal, which was signed in Cairo on Thursday, has been described by both factions as a major breakthrough. Responding to the development, the Israeli government said any reconciliation must see Hamas give up its arms and recognise Israel, while the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took to Twitter claiming the deal would hinder, not help peace in the region.
The first convoy of Turkey's new military operation in northwestern Syria is reported to have crossed the border and set up positions in the area. Witnesses say 30 military vehicles escorted by Syrian rebels have entered Idlib province, which is largely controlled by former al-Qaeda militants. The operation is part of joint efforts by Turkey, Russia, and Iran to set up a de-escalation zone there to help bring an end to Syria's 6-year-old civil war. 3 other ceasefire zones are already in place in the country. The goal is to contain fighting between Syrian rebels, which include groups backed by Turkey, and Bashar al-Assad's government, which is supported by both Moscow and Tehran.
Televidente, vamos a un corte comercial. Ahora nos está back el deporte con nuestro colega Carl Reuter.